Get in on the action this season with Underdog's Pick'em game. Select higher or lower between 2 and 8 players and compete for up to 325 times your entry. Use code DIRECTOR when signing up to receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick. Go to Bolt fam, it's the Director. Chargers fans, let's go! I know you guys saw the news already, right? You guys had to have seen the news. Keenan Allen is making his return to the Chargers. Oh, man. As a Chargers fan, man, especially everybody coming in from the San Diego days and stuff, one of the last remaining San Diego Chargers. He is the last one now on the roster, him and Denzel Perryman, right? It is just so great to see Keenan Allen back on the team, dude. It feels so surreal to think that we're going to get to see him and Ladd McConkey on the same team. Oh, dude, this does wonders for our wide receiver room, man. This is gonna be awesome, and we're gonna go over all the reasons why this is gonna be awesome here in today's video. I know some people are a bit up and down on it, but all I can tell you, man, is I'm gleeful as I could be as a Chargers fan, and there's legitimate reason to why the Chargers are bringing him in and why this is gonna be, in the end, I think an excellent move for the team, especially in this year. I think this year very pivotal to that. Before we do get things started, man, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog. Use code DIRECTOR to receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Guys, keep in mind these things too. These pop up randomly. I try to stay on top of it on Twitter and stuff. They're just starting to roll in for the NFL season. Make sure you catch these. 50% boost tokens. These tokens you add to your entries, and of course, they give you a nice little boost there. I decided to throw down my very first entry for week 1 of the NFL season. Omarion, Worthy, and Justin Herbert. Of course, you have to have a mixture of both teams. We're going to try and turn 8 in honor of Omarion Hampton into 74. If you guys want a chance to participate, definitely hit that up. It's a great way to support my platform while having some fun along the way. Use code DIRECTOR. Before we do kick off, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. Small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification. Helps me out a lot. Let's get into it. Lights, camera, action.
Who's got it better than us?
Into the end zone, Charger fans are witnesses to history!
Keenan Allen is officially returning to the Los Angeles Chargers. This is, I mean, guys, again, I can't reiterate everything I just said in the first opener, right? Like this is awesome. I am so happy. All the Keenan Allen jerseys reborn. You guys want to know how we found out? I think initially the hint was dropped like literally 10 or 15 minutes before the announcement happened. DJU, who of course was wearing number 13 in most of the offseason, yeah, he walked out into practice as number 7. And at that moment, we all knew that Keenan Allen likely signed, and they're going to give him his number back, number 13. Keenan Allen, welcome back to the Chargers. Some of the details on the deal, too, for those of you guys that are concerned about the money. I don't know if it was actually on this post, but I do have it here. Keenan officially reunites with the Bolts on a 1-year, I think it's an $8.5 million deal. Of course, you're going to see with the Chargers in that fashion, lots of incentives and stuff weaved in, which are things I think Keenan Allen can very realistically accomplish. I think that he still has a lot left in the tank. I think that you've seen a lot of veteran receivers in his kind of, archetype, his prototype. I'm going to say, guys that excelled in the slot in their later years like Larry Fitzgerald. I feel like you're going to see some of that from Keenan Allen this year, and it's really going to help benefit this team. And I think this is something the Chargers wanted to do initially at the top of the season. I kind of talked about this in some of the shorts I've been producing. I don't know if you guys have checked it out. I've been posting tons of shorts on TikTok and here on YouTube and Instagram. And of course, we have a show now on Bleacher Report where I post shorts every single day. In that, I talked about how the Chargers, I think, initially wanted to bring in a veteran option for this wide receiver room. And of course, back then, that was going to be Mike Williams. And Mike Williams, I think, was a great signing. I think, of course, maybe a little bit younger, but he has that X-receiver role that the Chargers needed. It was a really good fit if you were going to bring somebody back. But unfortunately, like we all know, Mike Williams did decide to retire. Now, I'm going to say this because there's not much on the surface happening other than speculation. We saw a Twitch stream of Mike Williams talking about maybe returning to the NFL. It sounds like he wants to take this year off and then maybe come out of retirement next season to come back to play for the Chargers. I don't know what the case is there, but he talked a lot about that on his Twitch stream. So keep that in mind. maybe he's leaving the door open for himself a little later down the road. But as I was saying, the Chargers wanted to add that veteran option, which unfortunately fell through with Mike Williams just a few weeks ago, maybe not even a week ago. Now it feels like they wanted to pivot and still have that answer on the roster in Keenan Allen. Now, Keenan Allen, of course, great wide receiver, but it may be a little bit, I'm going to say this, a little bit crowded before. Maybe this is the reason why they didn't add him while Mike Williams was still on the roster. Because at that point, you had Ladd McConkey, you had Trey, you had QJ and KLS. I think we should think of it less of a pivot and more of, okay, maybe the door did open now that, the wide receiver room isn't completely full, and they are going to get that receiver option, that veteran option, because I do believe, or I remember hearing rumors that Keenan Allen may be signing after we did sign Mike Williams, that they were going to reunite, and unfortunately, again, I think the wide receiver room was a little bit crowded. Now there's some space to bring in Keenan Allen, and of course, I think it's a really good move. And, this addition of a veteran receiver that has so much history with the team, so much history and chemistry with our quarterback. This is a great move on very many different levels. One that keeps the Chargers, I think, first and foremost, moving the ball forward. What was the big saying here on the channel for a long time watching the Chargers games live? I'm sure everybody around, Chargers fandom on social media, even before I had a channel, it was third and Keenan. Keenan Allen, it was a third down specialist for this team for a long time, kept a lot of drives alive, posted a lot of yards, scored a lot of touchdowns, but for the most part, he was a very healthy addition to moving the chains. And that is something that I think we're going to get in abundance this season. Now we've got Keenan Allen and Ladd McConkey. It's a great move in terms of, on the surface, we got Keenan back, let's move the chains, but also as insurance, because both Keenan and Ladd, maybe they get banged up here and there. Having one of them most of the time, more likely than not, available is going to keep that consistency on the roster for the Chargers. And you see that kind of everywhere on the roster, outside of interior offensive line, unfortunately, in the Chargers' depth, right? They're pretty deep at a lot of positions. You got a lot of guys that can fill a lot of roles in case they need to, be swapped in for a drive or two or a snap or two, or in case they need to step in for a game even. You see that with Amari Hampton, Najee Harris, similar archetypes, even in the backups, maybe, Rocket Sanders or Kamani Vidal, physicality, agility, that kind of stuff. You see it in the receiver room a little bit, especially now, of course, with Keenan Allen on the roster. You see it in the DBs. All over the roster, you're seeing these guys that make us consistent no matter what the situation is, really hedging your bets, right? And I think that's become a strength of the Chargers, and ultimately why, if you had to have any reason to be excited about Keenan Allen being on the roster, is that consistency is now that much more likely with Keenan here to move the chains, and that's a big part of winning football games, folks. But maybe my most exciting part of this, and my most exciting aspect of this whole move, is the fact that Justin Herbert is bringing back one of his favorite targets, maybe of all time, in Keenan Allen. You guys know this. Herbert and Keenan, undoubtedly, some of the best chemistry you're going to find in the NFL. It's almost like they could read each other's minds in their time playing in Los Angeles. Keenan needed to get open. Keenan found a way to get open. Justin Herbert trusted him, and they just linked up over and over and over and over, keeping games alive, of course, but also making pretty big plays. These guys... There's very few situations where I think a veteran receiver like, let's say, even Mike Williams, but especially Keenan Allen, can bounce around the league, and you're kind of seeing that twilight year flicker out, but then they can really bounce back. And that's because of the chemistry. They're coming back to a familiar quarterback. This quarterback knows him. He trusts him. And we, of course, seen the results of that chemistry very recently, too. It's not like it's been forever since Keenan Allen played for the Chargers. You guys remember, in their last season together, the stats were absolutely absurd. They would link up for 1,243 yards, 7 touchdowns in 2023, and the most wild part, that was all in 13 games. Keenan Allen was on pace for like a bonkers year. Like, everybody would be scratching their heads, panicking what to do the next season in fantasy football. Like, oh my gosh, this guy just had, a Jay Jettas type of season at the age of, at the time, what was it, like 31? What are we going to see? in the follow-up year. And it was absolutely spectacular. They were on fire. And this is one of the biggest reasons why so many of us were, I would say, disappointed. I have a TikTok out there that has like 200,000 views of me like, this is the worst thing the Chargers have ever done. I'm so personally hurt. I hope that these feelings go away. I can't handle it. And it's because, he just came off of this insane season. Was it a career year for Keenan Allen too? On 13 games? Come on! Who says that potential doesn't still exist on the roster, man? This situation, again, very unique, him coming back. You're going to see some cool stuff, man. Now, of course, everyone's going to mention the decline. Yes, he did have a short stint in Chicago. And that situation, be it up and down, a roller coaster, very unpredictable, very, shaky foundations. He was still able to produce 44 yards, 7 touchdowns. That's still pretty good in my opinion, especially for a veteran receiver that's in a room with DJ Moore, Cole Kmet. They just drafted Roma Dunze. Like, that room was pretty flooded. Caleb Williams, he didn't need any extra help at receiver. He had all the weapons in the world. And despite all that, Keenan Allen still put up some pretty good yards. But it wasn't the Chargers, right? And it's a different situation. The chemistry wasn't there with Caleb Williams. And even though, those guys still produced, I would say, a decent season for a 32-year-old wide receiver, that situation wasn't where you're going to find a maximum version of Keenan Allen, even at age 32 or 33. It's going to be here with the Chargers and Justin Herbert. But in this trade, by the way, because you guys remember that we traded Keenan Allen to the Bears, we got a 4th-round pick. I had to throw this in there. You see it all over social media. I just want to remind everybody that the Bears we got the 4th-round pick, and I think we got a 5th-round pick as well, right? No, it was just the 4th-round pick. We got the 4th for Keenan Allen. Joe Ortiz would then turn those picks, or that pick at the 4th round, into Ladd McConkey and Tarheeb Still. That's right. We traded a 4th and a 5th to the Patriots. The Patriots kicked us back. The trade up to get Ladd McConkey, and then as well as a 5th-round pick, a later 5th-round pick, and that ended up being Tarheeb Still as well. So we got Ladd McConkey and Tarheeb Still for Keenan Allen so they could have him on a 1-year rental, and now a year later he's back on the Chargers playing with Ladd McConkey and Tarheeb Still. Just bravo. What a masterclass put on by our GM, Joe Ortiz, man. Absolutely fantastic work. All right, let's move on to some of the potential of the Chargers and Keenan Allen being on the roster this season. Now, we have to remember this, okay? Coming back to the Chargers, Keenan, I would expect that his ceiling automatically goes up because of Justin Herbert. I think it's edging on, you could even say 1,000 yards again, which is pretty insane. But at minimum, I think you're going to see a really cool dynamic here with him and Ladd McConkey, okay? Like, having those two on the same team, absolutely insane. Just think about that for a second, right? Think about what you watched in Ladd McConkey last season and now add Keenan Allen to the equation. It's very exciting. We're talking more about that in just a second, okay? Because that I think is a pretty important aspect there. But Keenan Allen coming back with Justin Herbert, again, I think that 1,000 yards maybe is in the cards. We'll have to see like how much they pick up right away. Like, it feels like this is the kind of dynamic where he's going to come to training camp, he's going to hit the ground running, it's going to be like he never left. It feels like that is absolutely possible, okay? And to keep in mind as well, I'm sure this is in the back of Keenan Allen's mind, he only needs around 1,200 yards to be the all-time leader in Chargers receiving yards to edge out Antonio Gates. Isn't that insane? You see Antonio here with 11.8 and then Keenan with 10.5. Yeah. That's very real, and I'm sure that's in the back of Keenan Allen's mind. And honestly, again, the 700 yards last season, sure, maybe it's not, the most confidence-inducing stat coming into age 33 with the Chargers. But again, the dynamics are here, and I think you're going to see a lot of that with him and Justin Herbert. But also, like we alluded to, adding him with Ladd McConkey, I think, is very unique because you're going to see kind of a similar role between them, which some people would say is a bit redundant, but just hear me out. Back when Keenan Allen was playing with the Chargers, a lot of people would label him a slot receiver when in reality, he played both. He played in the slot and he played on the outside. Ladd McConkey's kind of being labeled the same way, but he also plays both. And he doesn't like being called a slot receiver. He likes being called a wide receiver, an NFL wide receiver. That's because he plays on the outside and on the inside quite frequently. Now, all you're going to do, instead of seeing your best receiver, do this inside and then outside and then this side and outside, you're probably going to see this. Keenan Allen, Ladd McConkey, inside, outside, and they're just going to switch. Right? And you're still going to see that playmaking ability on the field at all times from both positions, in the X and in the slot, or I should say on the outside and in the slot, which is definitely going to be felt, dude. Keep in mind, Keenan Allen is not a bad outside receiver. Like, he's a big dude. I think he's something like 6'2". Sure, he's not the fastest guy in the world, but he's a great route runner. You're going to see that put on display. It's going to be like, I don't know, like he never left, hopefully. And then Ladd McConkey, a different kind of outside receiver. He's got the speed to burn. He's got the separation to go deep downfield. It gives you options, variety at what you want to do. And ultimately, it keeps those positions filled for the most part. One big thing, too, that people are asking me is what the wide receiver, order is going to look like, the depth chart's going to look like, who's wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. If you guys were to ask me, and again, a lot depends on what we see in the next couple of weeks in training camp and in preseason, I would say it's Ladd McConkey, number 1. No disrespect to Keenan Allen, but Ladd did some amazing work last year. Then Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen ultimately slots in as your wide receiver, too. Again, no disrespect to Trey Harris. This is ultimately a good thing for Trey Harris. But, Keenan Allen, I think that's something that you got to respect. I think he's going to produce yards, and I think you want him on the field. At 3 is Trey Harris. At 4 is probably Quentin Johnston. At 5, maybe even KLS. Then at 6, Darius Davis. I think you're rostering 6 wide receivers at this point. And at that point, man, we look really good. The depth looks great. Maybe outside of X receiver, it feels like we only have really Trey there at the point. But again, Keenan can play a little X if he has to. And we'll have the playmakers, ultimately. We got the third down converters. We got the big playmakers. It feels like finally the wide receiver room has stabilized. Some people may not think that a Keenan Allen signing could do that for the Chargers, considering how bad the season was last year at the position. But I really do think that bringing Keenan in solves a lot of problems. And at very, very minimum, you're going to get great insurance for the position, right? You're going to have the yards, you're going to produce the stats, you're going to get the touchdowns, but at very minimum, you're going to have a guy that can step in if Ladd McConkey's banged up, and you have, if he's banged up, Ladd McConkey to play that role. And hopefully, for the most part, they're both healthy. Knock on wood, like they're the whole season, and they just, again, like I said, switch roles. You'll slot outside, and you have premium play on the field at all time from both positions. That would be absolutely awesome. But one more factor that I think is absolutely critical to this signing, and something that I think is maybe being overlooked a little bit, is going to be what Keenan Allen does for these guys. The rookies, the young receivers, including Ladd McConkey. Remember, Ladd McConkey, only coming into his second year, had a fantastic rookie season, but also very young. You bring in Keenan Allen, it benefits these young guys in 2 ways, in my opinion. Number 1, of course, you're going to have the mentorship. Learning from Keenan Allen, one of the greatest to all do it, maybe even the best of all time to do it for the Chargers, is a very important factor. That's something that can't be, swept under the rug. The Chargers think the same way of Khalil Mack, which is why they've kept him. Of course, he's been producing, but what he does in the locker room and what he does in influence of his teammates is very valuable too. Keenan Allen is the same way. And to do that in this year in particular, very valuable. Why? We have a second-year receiver, 2 rookies that are likely going to be at the top end of the roster this season for the position. You want somebody that can ease their way into the NFL, provide that mentorship, and ultimately help bring out the best version of themselves in the pros. Okay, so that was just reason number 1. Reason number 2, these guys are rookies, okay? I know everybody wants to see Trey Harris go out there and put up 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. I know there's some people making the argument that Keenan coming to the team is going to stifle Lambert Smith's progression because he's not going to see as many targets. I'm telling you guys right now, that's not going to be the case. Being able to ease these guys in, not put the whole load on their shoulders and force them to be the guys in their rookie seasons is going to benefit these guys in the long run. I unfortunately do have to make Quentin Johnston an example here. QJ was thrown into the fire when Mike Williams got injured in his rookie season, and I don't know how much that did for his development. Some receivers it really works, but most receivers, I think, being eased in, like we're seeing with a lot of these players in the Jim Harbaugh system, and finding success, right, without having the whole freaking team, riding on their shoulders, I think is ultimately a good thing in the progression and development of these players. I think Trey Harris is going to benefit a lot from the help on the field from Keenan Allen. Lambert Smith's going to benefit a lot from being eased in, learning from Keenan Allen. All of these aspects, I think, are really, really good for the team. And then in the future, of course, because Keenan's not going to stick around for too long, 1, maybe 2 years tops, you're going to see a better version of these young players in the future because of this move. I think that foresight is also very important when it comes to things like this, okay? So you add that to the picture. You add the veteran, presence. You add the offense as a whole looking very good. Outside of interior offensive line, which we're probably going to talk about here soon, the offense as a whole looks awesome. This is a great team for Justin Herbert. Bringing back Keenan was just the icing on the cake. The run game's going to look so much better. I think that really helps position the Chargers for a special season on offense. You guys are going to get some whiplash this season. Last season, poo-poo, right? There were some great games, I think, in the later half of the year, but for the most part, I don't know if I would label that the most successful season on offense for the Chargers ever. Not anywhere close. This season, I think you're going to see a pretty drastic 180. I think bringing back Keenan, I think really establishing your run game, those identity-shifting moves in Omarion Hampton, Najee Harris are really going to be felt in the success of the Chargers offense. And then, of course, these moves, the Chargers are just setting the pieces up for a great offense in the future. Keenan Allen's going to help lead the charge in getting these guys ready. Just wait, guys. In the next year or two, the wide receiver room is going to look completely different. It's going to look awesome, not in terms of names, but in terms of production. And these guys, the trust, maybe KLS is that guy. Maybe Quentin Johnson figures it out. But yeah, it feels like what we were striving for, which is a more balanced team, a more aggressive offense, an offense that can keep up with the pace of what the defense was doing last year. It feels like this move helps push us a little bit further into that direction and provide foundation, stability, mentorship, and familiarity and chemistry with Justin Herbert. All those things, great move. $8 million, well spent. Welcome back, Keenan Allen. Cannot wait to see number 13 back out on the field. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you like what you saw here, hit us up with the like and sub on your way out. I would also invite you guys, definitely go check out my TikTok. Let's get that number up. We're only at 2,000 followers. I know Instagram looks great. We got 15 on there. I think we got 22 on Twitter. I love Twitter. I'm on Twitter all the time. I'm also on Facebook and all those platforms. Definitely check that out. And then also check out my shorts on Bleacher Report. I know there's a lot of you guys out there on Bleacher Report. A lot of those shorts show up on there as well. I have live shows after the game. I think our first one's after the game on Sunday, right? Versus the Saints. Yeah, watch out for that. I have a game preview coming out tomorrow for that as well. So keep your eye out for that. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Take care. Welcome back, Keenan Allen. Let's get out there. Ooh, just imagine, guys. Just imagine for a second. Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen, 3rd and 5. Somebody's converting. We'll have to wait and see.